Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about key signatures. Now, key signatures are one of the most important things that you'll learn in this fundamentals unit. They can help not only with building the key signatures themselves, but also with scales, intervals, pretty much everything. So the more quickly that you can become familiar with these key signatures, the better off you'll be. So there are two ways to generate the key signature, which basically tells you how many accidentals are in a piece of music. One of them is to go through the scale. So you could say, I need to find out the key signature for D major. So let me build that D major scale using my major tetrachord. I'll find out there's an F sharp and a C sharp, and then I'll just write those, in the key signature area. The other way is to use this fancy circle that I've got up on the screen in front of you, made in MS Paint. This circle is called the circle of fifths, and that's just because from each letter to the next letter is a fifth. So F to C is a fifth, G to D. You'll notice down at the bottom here I have F sharp and G flat and C sharp and D flat together. So F sharp and G flat, if you think about the piano, they're the same note. They're enharmonic pitches to each other. Same thing with C sharp and D flat. I'll show you the reason that I chose to put those enharmonics together in just a minute. So what this circle basically is telling us is, a couple of things. One of the things is how many sharps or flats a key has. So you'll see C major is at the top. We know that has 0 sharps and 0 flats. And then there are these fancy looking arrows here. If we go around the circle clockwise, we grow in our number of sharps. So G major has 1 sharp, D major has 2 sharps, A has 3, E has 4, etc. If we go counterclockwise around the circle, we're building more and more flats. So F major has 1 flat, B flat major has 2 flats, E flat major has 3. Now you're probably saying, well, this is a wacky looking circle. How am I going to be able to reproduce this? Well, happily I have a handy mnemonic device that I learned in my youth and never forgot. It starts with the F, and it's Father Christmas, which I guess is an English way for saying Santa Claus. Father Christmas got Dad an electric blanket. And then it starts over again. Father Christmas, and then we go to flats, got Dad an electric blanket. And then you're all done. I'm sure you can come up with other mnemonics. I know that some people have told me Father Charles goes down and ends battle. That works fine too. Mine just has a little bit of a festive ring to it. Okay, so that's great. You can draw the circle. You can remember about electric blankets, which I don't know if they exist anymore. But perhaps we're saying now, well, okay, we know how many sharps and flats a key has, but how can we figure out which ones? Well, luckily the circle tells us that too. So while we start with our sharps and flats right at C with 0, let's say that we were looking for G major with 1 sharp. So that sharp in G major is always going to be F sharp. Always. That's always the first sharp that you'll have. If we look at D major, which has 2 sharps, we're going to have F sharp and C sharp. So let's go all the way around. We'll say, okay, well, B major, that has 5 sharps. So we're going to start with the F again. We have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and A sharp. Those are the 5 sharps that exist in B major. Same thing for the flats, except we start with the B flat. So let's say we wanted to do A flat major, which has 4 flats. So we'd start with B flat. So B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. Those are the 4 flats in A flat major. It gets a little bit trickier if you go to G flat major, which has 6 flats. We'd have to start here B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and obviously we can't have B flat again. So we would take the enharmonic of B, which is C flat. So G flat has B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and C flat. Okay, so let's now go over here and see see if we can put this to use. So the first 2 keys that I have here show you the way that the flats and the sharps are laid out on the treble and bass staffs. So like I said, we always start with B flat. So B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and then if you really want to go all out, F flat. And you'll see that these have a nice, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, and they always follow this pattern. So if you see this pattern, you'll be good. Sharps a little bit trickier because we don't want to have ledger lines with our sharps. So we start with F. So father, Christmas got, dad, and electric blanket. So you see we go down, down, but then instead of going up for the A, we go down again, and then up and down. And we'll talk about what keys those are in a minute. First, let's go to this one, this hopefully familiar one here. So we have F sharp and C sharp. The question is, what is that key? So the easiest way is to go back to your circle, whoop, say, all right, I have two sharps. Which one is two sharps? Oh, it's D. It's D major. Okay, so take a look at the next two of these. This one with 4 flats, and this one with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sharps. Okay, so 4 flats is A flat major, and 6 sharps is F sharp major. So you're saying, do I have to draw the circle of fifths every time I want to figure out a key signature? No, that's luckily there's a shortcut. With the sharp keys, it's really pretty easy. So you look to the last sharp. So in this case, we have C sharp, so the sharp furthest towards the music, and you go up a half step. So C sharp up a half step is D, and that tells you the key. So D major. That works with this one too. So we have E sharp as the last sharp in this key signature. If we take E sharp up a half step, that's F sharp. So that tells us it's F sharp major. So let's do the same thing with this one. So take a second, think about it. Okay, G sharp is the last sharp. We go up a half step, that gives us A major. Okay, now the real tricky one. How about this one with the B sharp? So B sharp is the last sharp, and therefore it is, that's right, C sharp major. Okay, flats, also an easy shortcut. So let's look at one that we already did. This one that we decided was A flat major. So you go to the end, which is the D flat, and you step back 1 flat, and that tells you the key. So we looked at D flat, we went back 1 flat, that's A flat major. Let's look at this one. We have 3 flats. So we go to the last flat, we go back 1 to the penultimate flat. It's an E flat, so it's E flat major. So what about this one? Take a second and think about it. Okay, we go back to the C flat, and then it's G flat major. So we've gone all the way to the C flat, we step back 1, G flat major. Alright, and the really tricky one with all the flats? That's right, it's C flat major, which hopefully you don't have to see too many times in your professional career. Okay, so let's think about using the circle of fifths to try and draw, to make a scale. So let's say we want the E major scale. So first thing that we'll do is we'll just put notes on all the lines in the stuff. So E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And then we say, all right, well, we know that E major exists on this circle. So let's figure out how many sharps it has. It has 4 sharps, and they are F, C, G, and D. So then we go back to our scale. We put a sharp on F, put a sharp on G, put a sharp on C, and a sharp on D. And that's probably a lot quicker than thinking, okay, what's the whole step, what's the half step? So this circle of fifths can save you a lot of time. So let's do the same thing on the other side. Let's go with D flat major. So you pause it now, and then we'll come back and we'll look. Okay, D flat major. So D flat, and then I'm just going to fill in all the lines and spaces to make sure I have them there. So D flat major, we look over our circle, it has 5 flats, and we know the flats are B, E, A, D, and G. So B, E, A, D, and G. And that gives us B flat major. So, like we were talking about with modes, knowing this circle of fifths, knowing your key signatures can save you a lot of time, because if we wanted, let's say, Lydian in D flat major, we could write the D flat major scale and then just start it on the fourth scale degree, so the G flat. So we had G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G flat. That would be your Lydian scale in D flat major. Okay.